Welcome back to Novel Idea. My name is Dia, and today is a Friday Reads. This week, I completed 4 books. So the first book I completed was a cozy mystery, and this was A Good Dog's Guide to Murder, and it's by Krista Davis. And it was just exactly what I needed, which was just something light and kind of with, no big commitment to it and that kind of thing. I was still reading Brothers Karamazov. I was in the middle of Cold Mountain and those kinds of things. I just needed something that I could set down both of those books and pick up without really any need to have too much brain involvement and that kind of thing. It was a very fun book. The dog in the story narrates, actually is talking to like other dogs and saying, hey, make sure that these are the kinds of things your human is really gonna like. And it takes place in a small town in Colorado, I believe, and it is Christmas time, and the whole town kind of turns into a little Christmas village, and they were having a gingerbread house contest that people from all over the country were coming to participate in. There has been a murder that happened, and so it's trying to find out about it. And I kind of liked that aspect of it. I kind of liked that this was all from the past and they were trying to figure out what had happened in the past. Good Dog's Guide to Murder by Krista Davis. It was a really fun read, and I would give it a B+. Then I read Redbird Christmas. This was towards, the last one was too. This towards my reindeer readathon prompts. Good Dog's Guide to Murder was for the dancer prompt. It had a script part in the title, which is what the prompt was for dancer. And the Redbird Christmas was for a book that I thought might be a little overhyped. And I've been seeing lots about it, especially now that it's Christmas time. And that one was Vixen, the Vixen prompt. And I actually liked it. It's not a new all-time favorite or anything like that, but I liked it. It was about a man who's had a unlucky kind of life. He seems almost like a jinx when it comes to things going wrong in his life. And he's told that he is going to die. He doesn't have very long to live, and is told to go visit this kind of spa retreat place that is not in a cold place. He doesn't get overly worked up about it or anything. He doesn't have any close friends. He doesn't have any loved ones. So he is basically alone in the world, and he goes down to this little teeny tiny town in the South. I want to say Louisiana. I'm not positive that's right, but I want to say Louisiana. And is going to spend at least Christmas down there. He doesn't have a lot of money, but there's a lady in town that's willing to loan him or rent him a room. And so he goes down believing that's going to be where he spends the rest of his life, basically. And it was a precious story. It was just a little too precious, if that makes sense. It didn't feel very real to me. It didn't feel like, oh, this could really be happening. It felt very derivative, hallmarky, that kind of thing. And that's not a bad thing. It's just not what I was expecting. And that was Redbird Christmas by Fannie Flagg, and I gave it an A-. All right, and then I finished Cold Mountain, and this is by Charles Frazier. This was a recommendation from Alana Estelle, and I am so grateful that she just really pushes us to try things that are not in our wheelhouse necessarily. I liked this so much, and I didn't think that I would when I started it. It's about a young man who is in the war, the Civil War in America. He is injured and goes to convalesce in a hospital. Everybody thinks he's going to die. Nobody thinks he's going to live. But for some reason, his wounds heal. Outwardly, his wounds heal. And he has a lot of time to think about life, to think about what's important, to think about where he grew up and what he loves about that place. He's very atmospheric in his writing, but not atmospheric to the point of like carrying you away into only atmosphere. He's atmospheric even when he is talking about the inward goings on of someone's heart or their thought processes, their memories, all of that. And it really connects you to the characters. So we've got our young man protagonist, and then we have our young woman protagonist. And she has just lost her father, and she is left behind when he goes away to war. His name is Inman, and her name is Ada. And she's left behind, but she gets left behind in more ways than one, because not only does Inman leave, but a lot of the town leaves. She's raised in a very kind of prestigious manner, but when her father dies, she is left penniless, basically. And she doesn't know how to do anything. And so it's kind of her story of becoming her own person, and of trying to live and make a life in this world where she has been kind of sheltered and kept away from the world. And I especially loved her story. The other part with Inman, what I really loved was the way he observed nature, because what he does is he goes on a walk to get back home to Ada. And on that walk, he meets all kinds of people. He has all kinds of encounters, and the way that he observes nature and the way that he observes humanity and just all of that was just absolutely engulfing. I was completely surrounded right there with him when he was on the page. This felt like an Appalachian Odyssey, Homer's Odyssey. It felt like this was a man who was leaving the woman that he loved to go to a war, and on his way back from that war had all of these little stop-offs and encounters, and just it felt very much like the Odyssey. It was really cool, but of course not Greek, and very, very Appalachian. It was so wonderful, and strong A from me for this book, and I just really, really loved it. and am thankful to have read it. And I took my time with it. I could have probably have devoured it all in one sitting, but I took my time because I was having such a lovely time in it that I didn't want to rush. So, Cold Mountain, Charles Frazier, strong A. And then the last one that I completed was Brothers Karamazov by Fyodor Dostoevsky. And it was everything that I remembered and hoped for. Hi everyone, editing Dia. I realized I didn't do a very good job telling you about Brothers Karamazov. So I wanted to come on and just kind of do a little review. Brothers Karamazov is basically a story of Russian life as a whole. That's socially, politically, spiritually, morally, at a point in their history that was a real fulcrum. It was a pivotal point in history for them. And it takes place during the 19th century, and it is about brothers who are raised by a very self-centered, self-indulgent, and also just a bit of a fool. Just a bit of a fool of a father. Raised them at all. That's part of the foolishness. And it is just these gripping events that take place in these brothers' lives where they have to really strive socially, strive spiritually, and Dostoevsky is really good about not being a champion for any single one of them, and not preaching at you, but giving you the opportunity to just kind of see where those characters are headed, what is ultimately going to happen. It is a sort of murder mystery. I think this was Dostoevsky's last work and last full-length novel anyway. And you can tell in the writing of it that he was very passionate about what he had to say and what needed to be said. It's about redemption, and it is about overcoming, and it is about family more than anything. He's also very good at making a dire situation light and a little funny, and it was just good. It was so wonderful. So A+ for Brothers Karamazov from me. Now, what am I in the middle of? I am currently reading The Garden of Empire by J.T. Greathouse. That is the second book in the Pact and Pattern duology, and the first one was The Hand of the Sun King. But the year that I read it, it was one of my favorite books of the year. And it is about a young boy who is multicultural. He has a dual culture. Mother is one culture, his father is another. He's raised in the traditions of his father's culture, but his mother's mother lives with them, and she makes sure that he knows this side of his culture as well. These two cultures are very, very opposed to one another. And it is about magic and gods and the way that that has been contained within this world. There were people who had magic that could wield it, and the gods and they warred. And they came to a pact to be able to have the gods leave the world and not be directly involved in everything. And the magic that people could wield would be limited by symbols and writing upon their skin. There were certain patterns that they would have upon their skin that would limit the type of magic that they could do. However, one man has discovered how to overcome that. And he is the current ruling emperor. And everybody thinks that nobody knows to what degree he has managed to move outside of those lines until hapless Kurt comes along. Is it hapless? Selfish? No. When he is being raised in his father's traditions and his father's culture and learning history according to that culture, he only wants to make his father proud. And in order to do that, he is going to become the hand or the voice of the emperor. In the process of all of that, in the process of chasing after power, in the process of chasing after this thing that is going to make his father happy and proud of him, he finds that it is not what he expects it to be. I'm almost finished with it as of this recording anyway. I'm reading that, and I'm loving being back in the world. I'm loving this character. Foolish Kur. That's it. Not selfish. Foolish, not hapless. Foolish Kur is his name. It has a very Asian influence on it, and it's just, I'm just having so much fun being in this world. I just really love it. So that's one. And then I am also reading still Joy to the World, which is an Advent reading, daily reading from Charles Spurgeon's excerpts of sermons that he gave on the Advent season and on the things leading up to the birth of Jesus. So I'm reading that and really loving it. And I am reading through the book of Luke with my friend Courtney still, and will continue that for the rest of the time right up until Christmas. It's 24 chapters long, so it ends on Christmas Eve, so I will continue with that. And then I am also reading Mort by Terry Pratchett. And I have read several books in Discworld, but I am going to make a concerted effort to read the death books. That's kind of my goal. I think there are something like more than 30. There are more than 30 books in the Discworld collection. But I am going, I think there are 5 or 6 in the death books. And so I am starting with Mort, and I'm going to be reading that. I'm waiting on Brandon Sanderson's The Lost Metal from my library, so I'm waiting for people to return it so that I can read it. My library is saying that it looks like it's still about 2 weeks, so I may not get to that before the end of the year. And I am also waiting on the final Nora Roberts book in the Dragonheart something trilogy, and it's called The Choice. So if it gets returned and I can do it before the end of the month, then I will be doing that. So in case you didn't see my last video, my oldest daughter is flying in on Tuesday, and she and I plan to do at least one video together, maybe two, while she's here. So you'll probably get to meet her. We have a pretty busy weekend because it is the weekend before Christmas. And so we have just prep still for when our daughter is here. And we are still wrapping up gifts and trying to get last minute things in the midst of snowstorms, because we have been getting quite a bit of snow. It's one of the coldest days out there right now that we have had this year so far. Let me know down in the comments if you have read any of the books that I read, if you agree with my thoughts on them. I would love to know what you are reading right now and what you are looking forward to before the end of the year. So I guess that's it for me for right now, everybody. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today, listening to me ramble about the books that I have enjoyed. And I will see you in the next video, everyone. Like if you liked it, subscribe if you want to. And if you want to leave me an emoji, you can leave me a star. Thanks, everyone. Bye.